Ladies and gentlemen, it's going down. For those of you who have ever read a book, you know that the inciting incident is one of the most critical scenes of any book. And today I'm going to break down exactly how and why I wrote the inciting incident the way I did in my first book, The Light Thief. Let's get started. Welcome back everyone, my name is David Webb. Thank you again for joining me, and today we're going to be talking about the inciting incident of The Light Thief. It's a hefty one. It spans across 4 chapters. Technically 3 chapters, and then the main character deals with the fallout of it in the 4th chapter. But considering the story is all about the main character, it's really important to show the effect the inciting incident has on the main character, which is why I consider the 4th chapter, chapter 9, part of the inciting incident. So let's just jump right into it with chapter 6. The most obvious question right off the bat is, why did I write the inciting incident from the point of view of someone other than Anaya, the main character? Well, a couple reasons. First of all, William, Anaya's brother, is a very important character in the book, but he's barely featured at all. Granted, the story is about Anaya, his sister, but William is the one who took out the power. Everything that happens is a direct result of his interference. And I really wanted the reader to connect with William and his guilt of seeing the horrific events that are about to take place. Further, I wanted to officially start Anaya's adventures by having her band together with her supporting cast of characters one at a time. If Anaya had been there for the inciting incident, it would have taken too many chapters after that to join with Roland, to join with Nicholas, and then get the ball rolling on their adventure. Another reason is that one of the themes of the book is Anaya's helplessness, and to have her toil away at school, mindless to everything that's going on right now, is a good way to start that off. And then of course, rushing home to try to make a difference, only to be held back and listen in as her family is torn to shreds. And finally, if Anaya were there in person to see her family executed, it would have torn her apart. It's bad enough to come home and find your parents dead, but to watch them murdered right in front of you, that would be truly crippling. Anaya is a strong character, but I honestly don't believe she's strong enough to do everything that she did in this book if she had watched her parents murdered in front of her. She's barely able to function as it is with the way everything happened. The only thing that's keeping her moving is the fact that William is still out there alive somewhere. And so she's clinging to the hope that some way, somehow, she'll be able to get her brother back. So chapter 6, I use this opportunity to give just a little bit more exposition from William's point of view as he's lying underneath the floorboards. He's thinking about Salvador, the warlord that helped him take out the power. He listens as the operative arrives in his house, a voice he recognizes as a formidable foe who almost stopped him from taking out the power. William's helplessness in this chapter, lying in the basement unable to do anything, mirrors Anaya's helplessness throughout the entire book. He has to just lie there and listen to his mother die. In chapter 7, I slow things way down. I toyed with the pacing of these chapters many times before finally settling on the way that I did it, and in the end, I'm happy with the result. There's nothing fast about the death of Anaya's parents. Her mother dies, and then a short time later, her father dies. They don't die at the same time, and the death of her mother is actually pretty horrific. I'm going to be bold enough to say that I think I did it really well. It's actually kind of sickening. And while her mother did not play a huge role in the beginning chapters, it's still kind of a gut punch to the reader. And to experience yet another death so soon after the first one might have been too much. So I broke away for a moment and focused on Anaya, and give her a chance to be alerted to what's going on back at home, therefore giving the reader hope that she's going to be able to get home and do something about it and save her family. In fact, toward the end of the chapter, I even put a little extra effort to making Anaya seem really heroic, giving the reader hope that she's going to overcome all odds and save her father, which really just makes it all the more tragic that she can't. The rest of the chapter is dedicated to Roland joining forces with Anaya. For at least half the book, Roland is her companion. He's the one that journeys with her, trying to get her brother back. So I take this opportunity to establish Roland to the reader as someone who knows just a little bit more than what he's letting on. However, I'm also careful to balance this out by clearly showing Anaya's advantage over him. She's more athletic. Granted, it's revealed later that Roland is well trained in combat, but Anaya is a runner, and she runs a lot. And so even though Roland is playing the part here of someone who is trying to save Anaya and take her away from tragedy, I subvert that expectation really quickly by having Anaya outrun him and making it to her house before he does. And of course, as stated before, Anaya almost makes it home before she's attacked by an unknown assailant. As for chapter 8, this is the true continuation of the inciting incident. William reveals himself to the operative, desperate to save his father, and they execute one last desperate move to save themselves from the Lightbringers. William acts as if he can't speak. Because, as it's revealed throughout these early chapters, he has a secret. He knows something terrible about the Lightbringers that they would never want getting out to anyone. And so, in one final desperate move, they try to convince the operative that there's no way William could have told the secret to anyone because he's still in shock and he can't speak. I feel just a little bit bad for having William butcher that plan completely by having him accidentally blurt something out in a desperate move to save his sister's honor. But in all fairness, the operative would have done what he did anyway. His job, as stated later, is to clean up the messes of the Lightbringers. He wasn't going to leave that house without taking William back and killing all witnesses. His claim of wanting to take William back and not hurt anyone else is completely false and really just a game to him. He has a bone to pick with Anaya's father, and he is determined to take his revenge. Revenge for what? Stick around for books 4 through 6, the prequels. And so, satisfied that he's tortured the Lyons family enough, he finally kills William's father and then takes William hostage. I also end this chapter on an ambiguous note, not making it entirely clear whether William is dead or whether he was captured. This is to give Anaya a black moment, a somewhat popular term in fiction for the darkest moment of someone's life. She experienced a similar moment 3 years ago when her brother was taken, but when she comes home and she finds her entire family dead, not aware for a moment that William is not dead but missing, she is at the lowest of her low. Of course, granted, she'll experience another couple moments like this throughout the series, but she needs this one defining moment to spur her on through the entire rest of this book. And so this is exactly what happens. She sees the Lightbringers leave her house, she runs inside with Roland and Nicholas, who, as it turns out, was the one who attacked her, trying to keep her away from her house so she doesn't end up dead too, and she makes it inside her house to find her parents dead. It's also dark enough that she looks down in the basement and sees what she thinks is her brother there lying dead as well. It's at this moment that Anaya is broken, and rightfully so. And if Nicholas and Roland were not there in this moment to comfort her, I really don't want to know what she would have done, because I don't really want to think about it. But luckily, they're there for her, and as she's lying there desperate, angry, confused, heartbroken, the two of them, along with the realization that the body in the basement is not William, that he was taken, is just enough to snap Anaya out of it and get her out of there before the Lightbringers come back. And so the three of them leave the house with the intention of fleeing Hollandass before the Lightbringers can scour the entire sector for her, because as stated, the operative is going to make sure that there are no witnesses, no one else that William could have possibly talked to, and therefore preserve the secret of the Lightbringers. These 4 chapters comprise what is arguably a very strong inciting incident. Something that is powerful enough that is going to inspire Anaya to go to the drastic ends that she goes to. Something that tears her down and makes her desperate to stay alive just so she can find her brother. If this hadn't happened the way it happened, she might not ever have made the decision that she makes at the end of the book. It's awful. It's horrific. But it's a moment that truly defines Anaya and sets her on her course for the entire rest of the series. Thank you again for joining me here today. I want you to go ahead and read the next 3 chapters if you haven't already done so, because I think that's how many I'm going to be covering in next week's video. Until then, thank you again for joining me. My name is David Webb, and get some writing done.